When you are the president of a country that is in the middle of 2 wars, what do you do to protect your people, especially when your country is the United States of America? You hold secret intelligence meetings with your armed forces. But what if you were lucky enough to get word of visiting extraterrestrial intelligence units? You sneak away from your vacation and visit them to obtain otherworldly war and weapons strategies. At least, this is what Michael Salla believed President Eisenhower did. Decades later, Paul Blake Smith would publish a book titled President Eisenhower's Close Encounters, supporting Sala's claim that Ike did, in fact, meet with extraterrestrials. In what has been described as the most exciting presidential saga ever, Smith describes how Ike met with friendly aliens to discuss, among other things, how the aliens could abduct American humans and cattle for experiments. But many people have called this a bare-faced lie at worst and a highly circumstantial claim at best. What is the truth behind Eisenhower's close encounter with aliens? Dwight David Ike Eisenhower was the 34th President of the United States. His tenure ran from 1953 to 1961. Before that, he had served as the Supreme Commander of the Allied Expeditionary Forces and achieved the 5-star rank of General of the Army. While he was president, America was involved in the Vietnam War and the Cold War, so his experience as a former military official was strategic in the decisions he made as a president. On February 20th, 1954, President Eisenhower was in Palm Springs, California, on a golf vacation. Around 9 p.m., he made an unscheduled departure from the Smoking Tree Ranch where he was staying to make a secret trip. Shortly after, the Associated Press released a bulletin saying, President Eisenhower dies tonight of a heart attack in Palm Springs. They immediately retracted the bulletin with a counter-report that Ike was still alive, and it was true. President Eisenhower did suffer a heart attack just a year later in Denver, Colorado, but he did not die until 1969. The morning after his secret trip, he attended a church service in Los Angeles. Still, there are 2 accounts of what went on when Ike abruptly interrupted his vacation. The first one claims that he made a secret trip to a nearby Air Force base to meet 2 aliens. The other offers a much simpler explanation. He went to see his dentist. The question now is which report is correct. The theory that Ike met with aliens was proposed by a former American University professor, Michael Salla, who also ran the Peace Ambassador program at the university's Center for Global Peace. Salah has a PhD in government from the University of Queensland, Australia, and is a recognized scholar in international politics, conflict resolution, and U.S. foreign policy. He has published several books, including the Secret Space Program series, which includes 6 books investigating whistleblower and insider testimonies on multiple classified space programs. Much of Salah's life work revolves around studying the main actors, institutions, and political processes associated with extraterrestrial life. Salah believes that President Eisenhower went to the Edwards Air Force Base, located on the western side of the Mojave Desert, Los Angeles, just a few miles away from his vacation spot. The Edwards Air Force Base has been the focus of several conspiracies surrounding aliens, UFOs, and anything extraterrestrial. The fact that it is a government flight testing facility probably contributes to this belief. Once President Eisenhower got to the Edwards Air Force Base, he met with 2 extraterrestrials with white hair, pale blue eyes, and colorless lips. The aliens would later be nicknamed Nordics in UFO circles because of how they resembled Scandinavian humans. According to Salah, the aliens traveled to Edwards from another solar system in a flying saucer, and they spoke to Eisenhower, but not the way we humans talk. Sitting in his suburban Falls Church living room, Salah says, there was telepathic communication. It's as though you're hearing a person, but they're not speaking. That description is precise for someone who was not there. Or was he? Did Salah get his reports directly from eyewitnesses who saw President Eisenhower talk to the aliens? Or perhaps, did he receive them from President Eisenhower himself? He further described the details of the meeting, saying that the Nordics offered to share their superior technology and spiritual wisdom with the country. He only had to agree to a tiny condition: eliminate America's nuclear weapons. A decade earlier, the world had been ravaged by the Second World War. There were bombs, nuclear explosions, heightened at the tragic Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings that leveled entire cities. Explosions of that magnitude will likely be visible to extraterrestrial entities observing planet Earth. So could it be that Ike's aliens were sent as ambassadors to Earth on a peace mission to stop humans from ruining the world? Salah thinks so. He said, "They were afraid we might blow up some of our nuclear technology, and apparently that does something to time and space, and it impacts on extraterrestrial races on other planets." What kind of impacts? Salah fails to say, but we can infer that the impacts were indeed deadly for two emissaries that have been sent down to Earth. America was in the middle of the Cold War and Vietnam, so of course Ike declined their offer. But that would not be the end of his meetings with the extraterrestrials. Salah says Ike later entered an agreement with another race of aliens known as Greys in 1954, which gave them the right to capture humans and cattle for their medical experiments. Ike's only condition was that they return the humans safely home. Salah believes the Greys have since captured millions of humans. But here is one more fact. The morning after the night this Ike allegedly met with aliens, his spokesman announced to the press that Ike had visited the dentist the previous night because he had chipped his tooth while eating a chicken wing at dinner. This fact is supported by James D. Mixon, a dentist and professor of dentistry and a historian of presidential dental work. Mixon later published an article titled "A History of Dwight D. Eisenhower's Oral Health" in the November 1995 issue of the Bulletin of the History of Dentistry. In the article, he reported that on the fateful night of February 20th, 1954, Ike did chip the porcelain cap of his upper left central incisor, and Dr. Francis A. Purcell fixed it. Unfortunately, Purcell died in 1974, so he can neither confirm or deny this statement. And this lack of evidence from Purcell has helped fuel the belief that Ike had an encounter with aliens, according to Mixon. Nonetheless, he said, the president had well-documented difficulties with this crown. The crown, installed in July 1952, was chipped and repaired in December of that year, only to be chipped and repaired again in February 1954. In July of 1954, it was repaired again by the president's dentist, Colonel James M. Fairchild, who replaced it with a thin cast of gold and platinum in a thimble crown. But this account makes one wonder if a chipped tooth is so painful or distressing that the president had to go see his dentist that very night. Could he not have waited till the next morning? Was the president so worried about his tooth that he just had to have it fixed that night? Did he have anything else to do at the dentist's office? Jim Layerzap, an archivist at the Eisenhower Library, does not buy the story of President Eisenhower's encounter with extraterrestrials. There is nothing in the archives that indicates that, he says, laughing. The library has heard that question so many times that they devoted one staff member to the topic. His name is Herb Pankratz, an archivist who specializes in transportation. Trains, planes, automobiles, flying saucers, and UFOs. Pankratz doesn't believe in the alien story either. He notes, "It's interesting how these stories have changed. Initially, the accounts claimed the president made a secret trip to Edwards Air Force Base to view the remains of aliens who had crashed at Roswell, New Mexico in 1947. Later stories then claimed he had actually visited with live aliens. He prefers to stick with the dentist story, since there are records that Eisenhower did have dental problems. But even if he did have any secret meetings with aliens, the dentist's story would probably have been an easy cover-up, because the US government is not known for sharing military information with the rest of the world, not even its own citizens. One more confusing part of the events of that night is the news bulletin released by the AP. Why did they report that President Eisenhower died that night? Who gave them that information? Pankratz believes somebody was fooling around and it went out. It wasn't supposed to go out, but it did. The only public statement from the president's side about the incident was made by his spokesperson the following morning. Ike himself never said anything to the media, but is it possible that he told his family? His son, John S.D. Eisenhower, is a retired Army Brigadier General and author of several books on history, including General Ike, A Personal Reminiscence. His response to whether his father mentioned meeting with aliens during his vacation is a short but emphatic no. He made no further comments. Decades after President Eisenhower's death, the night's activities still raise many questions. It has become fodder for all sorts of conspiracy theories about extraterrestrial intelligent beings. In 2020, Paul Blake Smith published his explosive investigation into Eisenhower's experience with extraterrestrials in his book, President Eisenhower's Close Encounters. In this book, Smith brought up a whole new collection of circumstantial evidence showing that the government is lying when they say they do not know extraterrestrial entities. He claims that President Eisenhower negotiated a secret treaty by classified executive order, which gave aliens the right to abduct some humans and mutilate animals for genetic harvesting and sustenance. These experiments could have been part of what some people believe is a secret breeding program being carried out by aliens to create alien-human hybrids that can survive on Earth and in space. According to Smith, President Eisenhower did, in fact, agree to reduce America's nuclear weapons testing. But does this mean the aliens gave him information on otherworldly technology? What kind of information could they have given him? That remains a mystery. Reports of President Eisenhower's encounter with aliens are not the first time. He has been mentioned in a conversation about aliens. During the Second World War, when Eisenhower was the commander of the Allied forces in Europe, his office issued an ominous press release. Published in the New York Times, the press release acknowledged that unidentified objects interacted with Allied forces' planes, sometimes getting close enough to cause engine malfunction. It also said that although they were not sure what it was, they took it seriously and were looking into it. The pilots believed these UFOs were enemy aircraft. On February 27, 1942, President Roosevelt wrote a memo that mentioned atomic secrets learned from study of celestial devices, which he believed may be of great significance towards the development of a superweapon of war. The UFOs were never identified. The popular belief among the UFO alien community is that Eisenhower had 3 separate encounters with aliens at an Air Force base in New Mexico, and that the FBI was involved. Is there a reason why Eisenhower in particular has been at the center of so many alien conspiracies? Some other US presidents like Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, and Jimmy Carter have been involved in alien and UFO discussions, but none of them are as notorious as Eisenhower. A book by Larry Holcomb entitled The Presidents and UFOs was published in 2015. It details the experiences of US presidents with UFOs and extraterrestrial entities. Could there be hidden rituals of US presidents meeting with aliens that the rest of the world is unaware of?